Hi, and welcome once again to What's the Story here on the People Chronicles. My name is Jo Painter, and with us this afternoon is Anne Desjardins. And I just like saying the name. I said that should be a perfume. I am wearing Desjardins today. That's right, Eau de Anne. I like it. And a mutual friend told me about you, and I know we're Facebook friends, and I've seen you, I recognize you, but I didn't know the story that you carry with you. And I suppose we all have stories that aren't there, but you have been proactive. It has to do with Lyme disease.
Yes.
And I don't know the whole story. So did you have Lyme disease? Is it something you get rid of? Do you still have it? What happened in your experience?
Great question. So for me, what I began to experience was an incredible fatigue about 7 years ago. That was crippling fatigue for me. I am pretty much of a doer. And so to be that tired was really a horrible feeling. So I started to try to figure out what was wrong. I went to a bunch of different doctors. I thought maybe I'd had apnea because that runs in my family. So I got a sleep study done, and they said, no, you don't have apnea, but let's do the daytime nap study. So that's a series of 5 naps of 20 minutes apiece. And for 3 of the 5 naps, apparently I went into REM within 5 minutes, which they said was very abnormal. So they told me I had narcolepsy. They gave me a stimulant that cost me about $1,000 a month. Provigil. It's a shift sleep disorder stimulant. I kept asking, I was like, so when do I feel better? And he's like, what do you mean? You should feel better by now. I said, no, I don't feel better at all. So I stopped taking that. I just figured that was a way to speed up my death. So then I had allergy testing done. I had nothing too outstanding there. I knew already I was allergic to mice, cats, dust, and pollen, who it kind of like, who is it in a sense, but okay, how much did I pay for that too? Fine. Nothing was wrong with me there. I had a slightly elevated thyroid reading, which they dismissed. The specialist had looked at that and said everything was okay. Mm-hmm. And then what else? I had a high white blood cell count at 1.2, which they also said was nothing to worry about. I had just gotten over a cold. So, okay. Then I start going to some other doctors. They tell me I'm stressed. Well, yes, I have some stress in my life. That's definitely, I'm not going to argue about that, sure, but I don't find it to be that debilitating that I would feel like I am. And then I just sort of gave up on doctors because they just kept telling me it was me, that I was depressed or that I was stressed. And I was becoming depressed, feeling like that all the time. And that fatigue then began to be accompanied with some numbness in my face. And I had some neurological problems in terms of remembering words, talking right without stuttering. Sometimes I'd be driving and I'm like, where am I going again? That was a little concerning. What else? I just couldn't remember things. So I'd be in the middle of a conversation, something like this, and I'd have to wait for you to talk so I would know I'm supposed to be talking to you about again, because I couldn't keep track of things like that. Watching television shows became pointless because I couldn't remember what I was watching at the commercial break. I'd be like, all right, I don't even know what movie or whatever it is that I've been watching. I canceled that forever ago. Reading books was a problem. I'd read the same page over and over. But, and God bless, I even asked my poor father at one time, he's a retired ER physician, and I was like, Dad, don't you see people complaining to you that are this tired all the time? Like, don't you know what's wrong with me? And he's like, sweetie, I don't know. We've looked at everything. They've done all the blood work. I don't know what to tell you. And I said to him, you know what, Dad, if the rest of my life is like this, I don't think I'm going to be here for much longer because I can't go on feeling like this forever. Like, this is a horrible feeling. And trying to tell someone what that fatigue feels like is really a challenge too, because it's not like I didn't get a good night of sleep and I'm a little grouchy or tired, or I'm hungover and I'm tired. No, this was like if I ran a marathon every day for a month straight and I didn't sleep 1 second of that entire month, I wouldn't be that tired.
But were you sleeping?
Well, that became a problem sometimes too. I had night sweats, and then I always slept so well, then I wasn't sleeping. So then I Google, good old Google, I Google fatigue, night sweats, and some of my other symptoms, and it's like, oh, you have HIV. I'm like, oh my God, okay. So like I get tested for that. That was probably the most anxious 20 minutes of my life. Mind you, it's a big red digital clock that I'm just sitting there like, that lady comes out, she won't make eye contact with me, so I assumed that I had it because she wasn't looking at me. So then I just burst into tears thinking, oh my God, this is what's gonna happen. And she's like, stay off the computer. Don't do this to yourself. And I was like, yeah, okay. But any doctor that I had, like my gynecologist, every doctor that I went to see, I'd be like, look, I'm really tired. Do you know what's wrong with me? No. Even my dental hygienist noticed the change in the plaque on my teeth, and she was like, are you really tired all the time? And I was like, yes, finally, somebody, But she didn't know what was wrong with me. She suggested maybe vitamin D deficiency or a couple other things, which I got checked for all of that stuff too. Nothing. So I just kind of went on about my life and tried to do what I could on my end. I changed my diet. I changed my workout routine. I changed my birth control. I changed any physical thing that I came in contact with. And then towards the end, things got really hokey. Like I started to lose my hearing in my left ear. That numbness in my face then would be in my whole body. I was traveling. I couldn't put my suitcase in the overhead compartment because at that point then my arms had hurt a lot. I didn't have a lot of physical pain. Thankfully, it was more neurological, and I was pretty good at faking people out that there was nothing wrong there. But I had 2 heart fluttering episodes. I started to get really dizzy when I'd walk. So I'd take my dog for like a 4-mile walk every day, and now I could hardly go 4 blocks. And I was like, all right, well, one day they're just gonna find me on the sidewalk and they're gonna be like, oh, she wasn't lying. There was really something wrong with her.
She's tired.
Dead. Because I just thought I was dying by now. Maybe I had a brain tumor. So I finally said to my parents, I love you guys a lot. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I have a brain tumor. So, but it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this, And my parents were like, what? Because I kind of kept it to myself after so long, which is not the best way to go about doing things, but that is who I am. I can sometimes just be very stubborn and too proud. I don't really know what that emotion is. I don't want to share with people that there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. So fine, but I was probably suicidal a lot of those days. Like I just didn't want to do that anymore. My ex-boyfriend, I didn't tell him either. He actually gave me a gun for Christmas one year because he thought for protection purposes, he's a big military person. So cool. But then it's like, oh my God, he just gave me this. He has no idea that he had no idea. But I would think about that stupid thing up there in my closet a lot of days, and it's like, ugh. But I'm just truly grateful that...
How did you get to the end of the journey? How did you get an answer?
When I went back to the doctor, I had asked for recommendations for somebody who was a little bit more Eastern-minded because I was getting nowhere with Western medicine. No offense, I'm related to tons of doctors, love you all. But this lady, when I went back, they really spent a good amount of time with me, 2 hours at least I was there. She gave me an EKG, she looked at my ear. Again, I started crying because she couldn't see why my hearing would be out. And I was like, that's it, because it's a tumor, it's pushing from the inside out. Like, I'm so screwed. But I demanded now too. I had plenty of time to research lots of things that could be wrong. And I said, I want to be tested for this, like listing 500 things. She says, well, we'll just start with these things and see what happens. And she had mentioned to me that they had diagnosed 9 other people just that week alone with Lyme disease. And I was like, all right, well.
Did anybody bring up Lyme disease prior to meeting this woman?
No. And I'm kind of mad at myself because I know about it, and I sort of.
Well, we all do, but what do we know? Is the question.
I sort of knew in the back. It's like deep down inside, I think I knew that's what was wrong with me, and I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't go back sooner. I just figured I could deal with it, and I was okay, and I wasn't gonna die. But then, like when things started to go downhill, I was like, I really need to figure out what's happening. So within 48 hours, they called to let me know that I had Lyme disease. And I feel very blessed again in the fact that I actually tested positive for a band that the CDC requires you to get screened for, because unfortunately the way things are right now, testing A is very inadequate, but B, they also don't test you for everything. So you actually have a better chance of flipping a coin in getting your heads or tails versus actually getting a positive diagnosis through the testing that is out there on the market right now. So once I got that diagnosis, okay, cool. Whew. It's not something else, it's not MS, it's not this, it's not that.
Right.
Okay, I just take some pills, it'll be good. Not so much in the sense that once you have it for a really long time, it's a corkscrew-shaped spirochete that burrows into your white matter of your body.
Is that called babesia?
That's another tick-borne disease.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's a couple.
I'm trying to get some clarity for people who are suffering from these things.
So you can get regular Lyme disease. You can also get babesia, Ehrlichia, mycoplasma, anaplasmosis, all kinds of different things that are other tick-borne diseases that sometimes you get, sometimes you don't, and that's the other thing too. If you do get bit, save the tick. It's a lot easier to test the tick to see what it's sick with as opposed to waiting, because when your body actually has it inside now, there's no evidence of it really. It doesn't cause a toxin that you can detect in your bloodstream. So you are looking at antibodies, which that's another thing. They're kind of shapeshifters, and it's very hard to pinpoint exactly what's happening when you're looking at the antibodies as opposed to an actual toxin produced by the disease. So there's a million and one reasons why it's so hard to actually get an accurate diagnosis.
Okay, I'm going to back up just a little bit because I'm hearing a number of things here. First of all, you said you had Lyme disease, and you were tested and it showed and you were lucky. So
yes.
Is it true, is it a safe assumption that a lot of times we can be tested and you get false negatives? And so it almost seems sometimes pointless to get tested. Not, it isn't, but frustrating because you can't rely on the results. Second, you said if you get bit, you should save the tick. Did you know you were bit?
No.
So there's another issue.
Correct.
Sometimes we have Lyme disease and we missed it altogether. We didn't even know we had a tick.
No rash,
So
no memory of a bite, nothing along those lines, just that incredibly horrible fatigue that kicked in.
And so you're talking about that set of symptoms. Is it safe to say that there could be any number of symptoms? Maybe it isn't fatigue, maybe it's dizziness, maybe it's loss of balance, maybe it's you think you have MS. Is it also safe to assume that you could be suffering any number of symptoms that are frustrating because you know you're not normal and you're repeatedly misdiagnosed?
Of course.
With other things?
Well, there's at least 100 different symptoms of Lyme disease.
So it mimics other diseases.
Tons.
And the typical protocol is a round of doxycycline?
Yes, and that's controversial as well because, some people are of the school where 3 weeks is adequate treatment and then you take your 3 weeks and then you're cured. Well, I can speak from personal experience and say that's not true. I was on medication for close to 4 months, all said and done. And if I hadn't gone back on that second round, I don't know. Because after I went off it the first time, I started going back to where I came from. And I was like, hell no, I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
So I called doctor. I was like, no, I need to get put back on medicine immediately. I had to get my blood work rechecked. I mean, they have to do their due diligence as well. And that's something else I could ask for. There's a bill up right now. House or Senate Act 100. I know I should know better.
State bill?
Yes.
Okay, this is important because insurance doesn't cover this, does it?
Right, and that's what this bill will do. So Senator Greenleaf has been someone that I've recently become aware of that's been fighting for people with Lyme disease for a long time. And he has gotten some stuff pushed through to be more on our side with this. But now there's a bill up again that I've written about to them, like, please pass this, please make sure this gets put through. But it would protect physicians to be able to treat at their discretion for individual people. Bioindividuality is a huge thing with Lyme disease, not to mention the fact that there are so many different kinds, so every person reacts differently. No two people are probably going to be treated exactly the same way.
Right.
But if we're tying their hands and we say, you can't give more than 3 weeks, that's not fair, because this is my quality of life, and I have gone from complete horrible quality of life to actually wanting to live again and enjoying being here. And
so there's two bills, or the same bill, two hopes.
Same.
One is to untie a physician's hands and allow them to treat a protocol according to what they're seeing with the patient.
Yes.
And does it also address insurance companies covering that treatment because it is a disease?
Yes.
Which it isn't acknowledged as such.
Correct.
That's huge. So you don't know the name of the bill, but it's Senator who? That's okay, Senator.
Well, Senator White would be who you'd want to contact, and I just apologize. It's Bill 100. I just don't know if it's still at the House or if it's at the Senate.
Okay.
I think Senate level now. So Senate Bill 100, to get that passed through, then again the insurance companies will pick it up. Government's not my strong point. I apologize.
No, that's okay, because what you're doing is huge. You've also started a support group because so many people are frustrated and feeling a little crazy, if you will, because something's wrong, but people start thinking, well, you don't know what you're talking about because I can't diagnose. So what's the support group?
Well, the support group will be starting next Wednesday, March 21st. I'm hosting it at Atonement Lutheran in Wyomissing, so that's at the intersection of State Hill Road and Penn Avenue. But my effort is to just simply be there for people as a resource to guide them to better treatment, more in touch with Lyme disease doctors, Lyme literate physicians, just so again they know they're not crazy. My one friend called me, his marriage is a little bit up in the air. He's been sick for 3 years. She doesn't understand because physically he looks fine, but he's really not, and she thinks he's lazy, but he's not lazy, he's sick. So he's happy to have a place to go that he has other people to talk to. The ladies I met last night at this speech on Lyme at the Reading Hospital, thank you Reading Hospital for starting to get that up to Our Health, whatever you like to be called any longer. But they, again, it's just the two of them, they only have each other and they don't have anybody else to talk to. So I just would like a place for us to be able to go that we can have support through each other and to know that we all have different symptoms, different cases, but we all have unity together and that we're not crazy.
And working in numbers, we can change and make a difference. So is there a name for the support group yet?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I try to think about Lyme people in our memories, but it's the Berks County Lyme Support Group.
There you go. That works.
Pretty simple.
You talked about Lyme literate doctors. Is that ILADS?
ILADS is the International Lyme and Associated Disease Society, and actually, interestingly, there was a doctor from Pennsylvania who helped to found that, but that's a little bit different than a Lyme literate physician.
What should you look for if you're looking for a doctor? You think maybe you have Lyme disease, you've been through this process. What should you look for in the doctor behind the credentials?
You can look for an ILADS physician because obviously they would have information about what's happening. Okay. Lyme literate doctors, it gets tricky too because people say they treat it, but they really are more in it for financial benefit to themselves because they make these products that you should try and whatever. So it is a little bit tough to find the right doctor for each person, but there are some out there, and that's another thing that I can probably guide people with. It's not like you can Google and there's a list of Lyme literate physicians. Right. They're a little bit scared to stick their necks out yet, but word of mouth is a very important thing in this community. So therefore then I can be that conduit to get people the information they need to get them connected to a good physician. I
can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing because so very many people are suffering from it. Some think it, some have no idea, and the missed not diagnoses, it's just expensive and devastating. So to have that network to navigate through the illness and the system is huge. So it's Berks County
Lyme Support Group.
Lyme Support Group. First meeting is
321. It's March 21st at 6 p.m. at Atonement Lutheran, and then that will also continue every third Wednesday of the following months at that same location, Atonement Lutheran.
Third Wednesdays. And is there a Facebook support page or something like that?
Yep, Berks County Lyme Support Group. You can also look for me. I am the page administrator, so I think if you find me, you can find my page too. Again, my name is Anne Desjardins. ANNEDESJARDINS. Feel free to reach out to me. I will happily guide you the best that I can. I am not a physician, mind you. I've had people asking me about that. I am not. I cannot give you medical diagnoses. I can't give you answers that way, but I can get you to the people that can help you with that information.
And that's huge. Thank you for giving your energy back and paying it forward for so many others. And I really appreciate your time sharing the news here on What's the Story on the People Chronicles.
Thank you. And I appreciate you having me and letting me at least have another platform to get this message out because there are a lot of us who are sick.
And that's what we're here for, that platform.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These stories are made possible in part by Spring Ridge Financial, Heidelberg Restaurant, Queen City Restaurant, and P.J. Willahans.